when we believe that the milk of a cow, an animal, is sufficient to afford nutrition to a human body, then one has to question that, because I am not an animal. That's common sense, I think. Animals produces milk for animal babies. Human beings, women, females, produces milk for human babies. But something happened to us that we elect to do just the opposite. Instead of us giving our babies the milk of a female human, we elect and chose to give our children the milk of an animal. I think that if we are to be scientific, intelligent, and lowest on the strata, to use our common sense, is there something wrong with that? And then, to compound the problem, is that the animal that we selected to afford us this milk is an animal that was made through the process of hybridization, an animal that is godless. God did not make a cow. You see why we are titling this subject as the reconnection?
A belief, not a reality. I was told in Washington, D.C. that I was violating one of the most sacred code or law of nutrition when I deprive Achilles Stroud of protein. So I asked Dr. Steinberg and Dr. Glutt at the Georgetown Pediatric Hospital, did you give her protein 5 times a day? You did. Was she under your care for 2 years? Yes. Now, she did not receive any of those things that you call protein, and she no longer has sickle cell anemia. So where is the validity of this thing we call protein? Is it equity or is it deficit? We don't know.
But like everything else, like this Dr. Lionel Paulin, he brought us vitamin C. What is vitamin C? Oh, I know what the answer would be. Vitamin C is good for your immune system. It strengthens the immune system. Not so. Vitamin C is ascorbic acid. The body has no place for acidity. The body is alkali.
And she apologized. But if I had not known about the herbs and learned about them in the proper way, she would have snowed me. I could give anybody in New York any herb and say it is this or that. They don't know. But the very herbalists, when I came to New York just 15 years ago, one day telling their recipients to drink carrot juice, didn't they tell the recipient to take golden seal? Well, when you do such a thing, you are showing and telling the world that you don't know what you're doing. And this is what happened to me when I went on WLIB. And I told the audience at WLIB that carrots were artificial. They all denied me. 1 year later, when Nova came up with the program, that not only was it artificial, they showed that it was made by crossing the Queen Anne lace and the wild yam. You do not mix herbs unless they belong to the same valence. What do I mean by that? I mean this. In the kingdom of life, a yarrow plant, which is known as the Queen Anne lace, could only and will only pollinate another Queen Anne lace. Why? Because the pollen carries the same amount of valence as the other. And through that process we known as chemical affinity, they join. Now, there is another mixture that we are totally unaware of beside the natural one, which is chemical affinity. The other one is a mechanical mixture. What is a mechanical mixture? A mechanical mixture is when you cut a sliver in a plant, like the Queen Anne lace, and you cut a sliver in another plant, and you take out the heart of the stem, and you put it inside the Queen Anne lace, and you tape it. That is hybridization. Black people knows nothing about this. And now this plant produces something other than what it was originally, because now we are uniting Queen Anne lace with wild yam. You don't get the wild yam or the Queen Anne lace. You get what? A carrot. They went further to show that it was made in Holland. And little before that article came out, I had returned to the drawing board to find this carrot. I knew it was artificial. Why? Because it doesn't produce seed to reproduce itself. Carrot just does not produce a seed that reproduces itself. So I knew it was artificial. And beside that, it contains starch. When I go back to do my research, guess what I found? That the German made the lamb, the German made the barley. I said, oh no. This is why the Arabs are so indebted to Germany. Because the German make the Arab food. The Arabs has no food, you know. Arabia never had food. Arabia doesn't have food now. Nowhere in Arabia you find natural food.
Like garlic. Garlic is a substance that would definitely lower your pressure, because it would eat up the cholesterol in the arteries. But did it tell us that garlic, not only does it remove the plaque or the cholesterol, it eats the membrane, because garlic is unstable. It is another product that was made by man through the process of hybridization and cross-pollination. Garlic is a poison. Garlic has an oxide known as the oxide of allyl. This is why when you put garlic on a knife and you cut someone, the wound would never heal. So, ladies and...
Because look at what he eats.
Is fish good?
Fish rots in the intestines.
Oh. That's where the worms go.
Oh. Exactly right. Anything that walk, crawls, swim, or fly, and that has a head, it should not enter my system.
It should have a face.
That's a Valentine's Day Saturday. And even has a face, leave it alone.
I'm going to give a simple example. On the planet, minerals are expressed in two forms. One phosphate, one oxide. Meaning what? There are 142 minerals. We begin with gold, silver, opium, iron, phosphorus, iron, magnesium. They come in the form of a rock. 142 different minerals in the planet. They come in the form of a rock. But that rock also have a plant that is representative of that mineral. The plant contains gold. Gold? You may ask, well, why should it be so difficult for you to understand that? Don't you take burdock for iron? And what's the difference with iron and gold? They both are minerals. But now you have them in a plant form. Why a plant form? Because the plant, in sending its root into the soil, it converts that solid rock into a liquid digestible substance. The scientists call that process of conversion iontrophoresis. Iontrophoresis could only be accomplished by a plant, not a laboratory. You can't take a piece of rock that is iron into a laboratory and get a liquid from it that's going to be digestible, because now it becomes non-electrical. The plant makes it electrical. And when you drink it, it is pre-digested for you electrically, so that no one snow you. The minerals that the body needs cannot be found in any health food store. No vitamin C, vitamin B, vitamin A. The body is not made up of any alphabetical order. It is made up of minerals. And when those minerals have been depleted by the presence of disease, a disease ensues. So you have to replace them in a natural form, in the form of a rock or a plant. A plant, because it is alive and it is electrical. Why does it have to be electrical? Because the body is electrical. How could you feed an electric body dead food? You just can't do that. That's not consistency.
Yes, sir. Dr. Sebi, explain to the people watching this tape the word electricity, and how it pertains to its necessity boundaries within the body structure.
Now you see? Now that was the best question that could have been asked. Why? Because if something is of usefulness in my structure, in my biological structure, it must necessarily be electrical. And the only substance that is electrical, that are electrical, are those substances that come from the forest we call the jungle. Because the molecular structure is complete, it's not broken. If something is made by Mother Nature, one could easily use the common sense and see where this stuff is natural, is complete. But if something is made in a laboratory, well, naturally, common sense again shows us it could not be of usefulness. Each mineral on the planet, iron has 12,000 electrons per atom, calcium has 9,000, opium has the specific amount, and so it goes through the whole ramification of life. 142 minerals expresses themselves in a different way because that is necessary to maintain continuity, to maintain that individuality of each plant. The bones is calcium, not the blood. The blood is...
Biochemistry shows that carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, three combined, has to be present for life to exist. But instead of us learning about the function of carbon and iron, we've been fed vitamins, protein, enzymes, and melanin. But when the question is asked about these particular substances, that is very important. One of the most important questions that should be asked, are they electric? Iron fluorine, like we before mentioned, iron is one of the most important mineral on the planet. And the reason for that is that iron is the only magnetic mineral on the planet. It attracts every other mineral to it. So when you ingest iron, you are ingesting every other mineral on the planet. And this, that iron is what conveys oxygen to the brain, and oxygen is what the brain converts and uses for electricity. It is the food of the brain.
So now, if electricity is produced by copper and carbon, the friction of copper and carbon, then where do we go in the human body and find the organ that produces electricity? We find that it's the brain. The brain is the center of motor. The nervous system is the conduit that carries the electricity to various points of the body to cause motion. Now, Should we ask, what is the composition of the brain? No. It is made up of what? Carbon and copper. The pineal gland is carbon, and the cerebral cortex, copper.
Does everyone?
We not only find that in a human being, we find that in the eel in Brazil that produces electricity to kill his prey. And when you open the eel, all you find is copper and carbon. No melanin.